Hello, welcome to the very first video episode of the Daryl Kemsley podcast. I am very, very excited to be here. I really want to dive right into it. I think long intros are extremely corny, so I'm going to keep this very, very short. Who am I? Who is Daryl Kemsley? I am the son of an American father, businessman, Chinese mother, born and raised in Taiwan. I grew up in China, born in Hong Kong, moved to Shanghai. In the States, I lived in Utah, Massachusetts, lived in New York for a little bit after high school, and now I'm located in Utah. I run a financial technology company. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Selfstart.io. I'm also the co-founder of Squeeze.io, which is a data enrichment lead generation CRM. None of that matters. I am heavily in the tech space. I'm a serial entrepreneur, and the point of this podcast is to spread awareness and talk to people in different fields of expertise just for, at the end of the day, increase perception. I truly believe that the key of life and the key to higher education and the key to success is having an increased perception. And thank you for joining us, and let's just dive right into it. I get a lot of questions. And when I say a lot, that's all relative. But I do get quite a few questions about, hey, how do I start my path to success? How do I just go ahead and be an entrepreneur? How do I quit my job? How do I go and achieve everything I've ever wanted to achieve and make the millions of dollars that I really want to? And that is the focus of this episode right here, which is, no pun intended, well, okay, very much intended, how to self-start. Now, I'm going to break this podcast down to 3 different steps because I believe there are 3 main steps on how to self-start and find your success. Now, step 1, you have to discover what your success is. In this country, success, I believe, is very overprescribed. Formal education is overprescribed as a one-stop solution for almost every single problem out there. And it is a solution for many, many things. However, we'll go into the details about how to discover what success means to you. Step 2, we're going to talk about the concept and act of reverse engineering. Now, you can't skip step 1 and go straight into step 2 because that's not how numbers work. Corny joke aside, step 1 really truly is important for you to discover and know what you are reverse engineering in that second step. And the third step is how to make those goals from step 1 and step 2 into reality and things that you can do today to literally get started, evolve your life, change your life. And if you think your life doesn't need any changing whatsoever, then this is not the podcast for you. I truly believe we're here to progress, we're here to learn, we're here to sacrifice, we're here for the collective, and that comes with work every single day. So if you're already living the perfect life and there's absolutely nothing you could do to level up or be better in any sort of way, then you should start a podcast, and I'll tune in immediately. With that being said, let's get started with step 1. So, discovering your success. Let's say this. A lot of people kind of have this problem where they know they want a lot of freaking money. They know that's what they're going for, but they don't really know where to begin. Now, if you begin on reverse engineering, that's fantastic and that's brilliant, but I'm talking about something a little bit more systemic than that. So if you start with reverse engineering and then having the right mentorship, having the right opportunities lined up, having the right work ethic, and having the brilliant idea and working and building something fantastic and amazing, what I'm here to say is at the end of the day, that might not fulfill you. Do not buy into the stereotypes of success. Do not buy into the spectacle that is this country, the spectacle that is glamour, the spectacle and show that is what success is, whether it's popularity, respect, fame, having a very, very big platform, or having an abundance of a lot of money. Do not buy into this overprescription of the word success. So step one is truly to define what that success is. And why that is so important is you could execute steps 2, 3, 4, 5, have the most amazing habits, have the best consistency, build something so amazing, and at the end of the day, because you skipped the very first step, you end up depressed, you end up lost, you end up unfulfilled. And the biggest thing is probably unfulfilled. This is a live podcast. It's also my very first time doing a video thing. So I'm going to have hiccups with my words. I'm going to have hiccups with my ideals and ideas, but that's 100% okay. Just bear with me. Follow this concept with me. Let's say you're somebody who grew up, right, in a household where you needed to perform acts of intelligence, or you needed to perform acts of whatever for love and validation from your parental figures, or love and validation from your siblings, and so forth, just from your community. If your formative years from 0 to 11 and your behavior patterns that run your subconscious that dictate the rest of your life and your reality, if that is based on an action input and a reward received, then you are literally not living a life genuine to your success. No matter what you do, there might be that level of unfulfilledness to it. And also keep in mind, take everything I say with a grain of salt. I understand I'm an idiot. These are all just my opinions. But case in point, let's talk about politicians right now. So if you grow up and you're just here, oh my gosh, you are so smart, you're so intelligent, and you don't really get given the attention, the time of day needed, unless you like performed in an intellectual matter, whether it's excelling in academics, whether it's just being able to figure out daily logistics of life, whatever that may be. If your drive, if your ego drive and your compensation reward system is based off of that need to be smart, then you might go and try to prove to everybody you're smart. That's your drive. That's what your success is. And then you might go into, and this is a very far-fetched example, but this, again, bear with me. And then you might go into politics because your whole life you just want a platform to prove to people how smart you are. And what does that do? You end up looking like an idiot, or being thought as an idiot by half of the country. Like literally, think about that. If your entire drive is to seem smarter than your fellow human being, and that is what compensates and motivates and inspires you to go in and do everything you do day in and day out, go into politics, be able to conquer public speaking, be able to just literally say what needs to be heard for you to be able to get votes. At the end of the day, you're going to have a lot of people thinking you're an idiot. And I know that's just a very random example, but that could be brought into almost everything. If your drive was wealth, like, oh my gosh, like I need to provide money because for some reason in my behavior patterns in my formative years, it was really brainwashed into me that money is so important in order to have value for me, right? Which I would say most of the world is raised that way, you know, me included. Then your drive is just going to be money. The wrong thing about that is there is no finite amount of money you could have. And that's why billionaires exist, and that's why people are trying to become trillionaires. What I'm trying to say is there's always a better car. There's always a person with a bigger yacht. There's always a better jet. There's always better upholstery within your jet, within your yacht, within your homes. There is always bigger and more and somebody doing it better. So if your drive to feel love for yourself was that amount of money, then skipping step one is just going to leave you in this endless rat race where you just feel completely unfulfilled, because no matter how much is in your bank account, in your offshore accounts, how much you have hoarded in crypto, how much you have hoarded in actual material goods and minerals, at the end of the day, when you look in the mirror, you might not be as fulfilled as you would have hoped to be. Okay? So how do you discover what you really want out of life? And there's also very, very big micro and macro consequences for skipping this step of defining what your success is. If I were to bring this back to my horrible politics and politician example that I brought up already, what are the micro consequences of defining your success and your motivation and your compensation of achieving things out of wanting people to think you're smart? Well, the micro consequence, again, we already mentioned, half the country is going to think you're dumb, even if you become the top and pinnacle of politicians and you become the president of the United States. Like, the micro consequences, half the country is going to think you're dumb. All right, what are the macro consequences? Well, the macro consequences is in order to fulfill that ego drive of needing to be intelligent, needing people to know you're intelligent, you join a system of politics that literally holds the country back from innovation and strips you from actual ideas, strips you from actual points of innovation, because you have to be within the box and act within the box as a politician should, what a politician is, in order to reach that rank and hold that country back from laws that might share our privilege and abundance to all parties. I know that's a lot of words right there, but what do I mean by that? I'm not going to get into it, actually, because there's too much to discuss. But just think about this. How funny is it that the words politics literally is synonymous with like red tape in this country? Like, if you're ever in a situation talking about like a company, work culture, or sports or anything, you're like, oh, it's just politics. Oh, it's just politics. What runs this country, which is politics, has literally become the word synonymous with just like red tape, bureaucracy. Oh, it's just a show. It's just politics. That's the hiccup. Like, that is the macro consequences of just needing your drive to be wanting to be smart and wanting the people to know you're smart. It's not just you're hurting yourself and you might not be fulfilled with your own legacy, but you're actually joining a system that on the macro holds the entire system back. Okay, I might have lost 90% of you by this point, but that's completely okay, because this is made for the remaining 10% of you anyway. So how to define your success? This is going to take a lot of disciplinary work. I'm going to bring this to my life and my example, because that's the best way I could really explain and teach this, is through my own example. I had my very first kind of like 15 seconds of fame. I wrote about it in my book with Brian Tracy, Pay It Forward. When I was young, I used to be a finder for companies. When I was in my late teens, early 20s, I found very little bit of what I thought to be success. And what came from that was just a horrible, horrible, horrible downfall. Downfall self-inflicted, of thousands, literal thousands of people messaging me the most rudest things you could possibly imagine. All this negative intention from just like fake journalism and horribly published articles that's like literally just clickbait with no integrity whatsoever. And what that actually did was brought me down to my knees to a level of depression that lasted for 2 years of my life. I spent 2 years of my life literally suicidal, filled with pity, filled with depression, filled with sorrow for myself, thinking, how could this happen to me? Why do I deserve this? Why would this happen? And just stuck in that self-victimization cycle, stuck in that pity cycle. And That is the best thing that has ever happened to me. The original success that I found, the money that I made that afforded me the luxuries of, all the paid off cars I've ever wanted, literally every single item that a teenager, someone in their early 20s could possibly want, exotic cars, like literally everything that I could have ever imagined thankfully led to me completely depressed, living out of my savings, smoking weed in my basement, doing psychedelics every single day. Not the psychedelics part. That's definitely not every single day. For 2 years of my life, more or less, where I do not continue anything and I really soul search, discover myself, and discover what I need to do. And what I found in that experience and what I found from all of this is I was literally acting as a character. I was a mask of Daryl Kemsley. Okay, this is who I like to think I am, and this is what's called the ego. I know a lot of you know that, but this is for people who don't. I did not understand my drive and why I did what I did. I was a mask, a caricature of Daryl Kemsley, what I believed I was to be. And just to be very genuine and very personal, I realized everything I was doing and all the success I was finding and all the money I was making, my drive was to compensate and be better. My drive was, oh my gosh, I need to prove my worthiness. I need to prove I could do things. I need to show it. I need to drive this exotic car. I need to have this exotic car. I got to have more and more and more. I really got to prove it because in my formative years, that's what I had to do to receive love from my surroundings, from my parental figures. That's what I needed for me. I needed to prove that I was worth the oxygen that I was breathing. I needed to prove I was worth the space. And my entire drive was out of that ego to show, hey, this is why I'm worth it to be alive. This is why I'm worth being respected. This is why I'm worth being loved. Look at this, look at this, look at how young I am. This is what I've accomplished. And again, what all of that brought me was all the negative attention you could have ever imagined, all the worst articles and clickbait journalism, all the worst press, and the verdict of me being suicidal, completely unplugged from life, dumping every single one of my friendships, losing my relationships, with family and relationship partners to just be a suicidal, pitiful dude. So, if you think success is clout, if you think success is money, I could tell, and it very might well be for you. I highly doubt it, but I'm not going to take that away from you. But I am here to tell you firsthand that that's everything, even at a small level, but everything's relative, that I received at a young age, and it made me the most depressed I've ever been and the most unfulfilled I've ever been. So how did I get out of that? How did I define my success? For me personally, and I don't think this is a one-stop shop that I could just prescribe and it'll work for everyone, but I do believe that there is a universal virtue behind this in service. What got me to even think I'm worthwhile to breathe the oxygen I was breathing in my basement and not just kill myself was being able to go out into Salt Lake City, take the drive, and feeding homeless people. I started buying like McDonald's. I started buying, and at this point, it was like a year and a half into me just completely living off of my savings and thinking I was going to kill myself every day. So I was kind of a little gracious with my spending habits. But at this point in my life, I went from my savings all the way down to $1,000. It might be a little bit more, it might be a little bit less, I don't know, but it was roughly around $1,000. I had $1,000 left, and I'm like, okay, cool. I'm not going to be able to afford my bills. I'm not going to be able to keep up my way of living. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be here anyway, but what can I do with this $1,000? Like, obviously I put all the other thousands and thousands of dollars to use and I still feel this way. So what could I do with this last $1,000? And for me, that was, oh, why don't I step out of my own pitiful ass and my own pitiful head? And why don't I go do something for someone else? And again, I bring back the original point. I am an idiot. It did take me a whole year and a half and tens of thousands of dollars for me to come to this conclusion, but everybody has to learn at their own pace. That's what I realized. I drove to Salt Lake City. I handed out a bunch of hamburgers to homeless people, less fortunate people, and it really, really, really changed my life. Now, there's no honor whatsoever in a lost dude handing out junk food to homeless people, which is like a systemic failure of like how the system failed them. Like there's no honor. It's not like I was actually doing anything that benefited anyone. There were times where, a few of the people I was able to feed told me, oh my gosh, I haven't had a meal in a day, or oh my gosh, I've been 2 days without a meal. So there definitely were use for what I was doing. But the point I'm trying to illustrate is that it was for me. I wasn't fixing any problems. I wasn't fixing the root of anything. I was just a lost dude handing out food to people for any sort of human connection. And that changed my life. I started an anonymous nonprofit. It's no longer anonymous, but back then I started an anonymous nonprofit called Nice Human. I gathered a few friends, and every week, and sometimes my friends couldn't join, but sometimes they did, and I went out every single week, twice. It started once a week, then started twice a week, and I brought my business mind and my original capitalistic mindset into this problem of feeding the homeless. I strategized routes. I did what's the best, how much food could I get with this budget, with this runway? What's like the maximize results we could get with this existing runway? I planned everything out and did the marketing behind, hey, how do we get people here? That way we don't waste 4 hours trying to find homeless people to get food to. And how do we really, really just make this the most streamlined and practical as it can be? While I did that over the next 6 months of my life, I really, really realized that A, I was helping myself more than anyone else, and B, if I were helping other people, which very, very micro scale I was, so I'll give myself that credit. If I were helping people, it wasn't in most of the time the actual food I was handing out, but it was in the looking someone eye to eye, having a conversation, and treating someone like a human being. I completely felt infatuated and in love with service to others. I was addicted. I loved seeing the smiles I brought to people's faces. I loved eventually being called out, having my car recognized, having me as a person recognized, being walked up to, being physically embraced, being held, and just being loved by these people that we've been feeding consistently. And it's not the food that gave them any sort of that respect and love to me and my friends. It wasn't the food. It might have been a small part, but it was that human connection, and it was that ability to be able to see them for what they are, which is, amazing human beings who fell to a system and an unfortunate event. And I'm not going to get into victim mentality, because a lot of that's self-perpetuated, obviously, but a lot of it's also just literally being felled and very compassionate people who didn't have the best surrounding, didn't have the best parental figures, didn't have the best opportunities in a system that's designed to reap compromised mindsets where they have nowhere to go and they never had that hope. So it's just like a perpetuating cycle. And me, I know firsthand how easy it is to be stuck in that cycle, even with all the privilege in the world. So now imagine that privilege taken away from it. These are just human beings that we are failing. And for me to be able to be embraced and have all the conversations, deep conversations with all these individuals truly, truly, truly changed my life and redefined my love of success. Why did it change my life? It changed my life because of the emotions I felt from this experience. Happiness, joy. as a suicidal dude for so long of my life, a year and a half at this point, to be able to feel worthy to breathe, be able to feel worthy of like just functioning, going out by my day, but not just that, but to be able to feel good, to be able to feel happy, to be able to feel joy. And that all came from serving others. So for me, how do you find your success? Do you drop out of life, go do a bunch of psychedelics, smoke weed in your basement for a year and a half, and then spend the remaining of your life savings on feeding homeless people? No, absolutely not. But develop the discipline to unattach yourself from the spectacle, from the glamour of this country, from the show that is social media, from the show that is literal news on the TV, and from the show that is literal shows on your TV, on your Netflix, on everything. Unplug yourself from all that. Allow minimal outside influence to yourself and your soul. It's like, okay, decipher why you do the things you do. Ask yourself the tough questions. And this is a scary thing to do. It's very scary to check your ego. It's very scary to check yourself. And it's not something that you ever have to stop doing. You know, progression is not linear. Progression is circular. And even though I am not anywhere close to the man I was 5 years ago, and I like to think of myself as a much more evolved version, if I'm not evolving every single day, and I don't need to give myself pressure, because some days I do worse than other days, and that's completely fine. If I'm not evolving though every single year, then I'm not doing something right. And it's very hard to really ask yourself those questions and really get to the bottom of it. It's like, hey, why am I doing the things I'm doing? Why do I want this? Like, what are your current goals now? Do you want to be verified on Instagram? Like, do you want, and not to belittle any goals out there. That's not the point of this. But literally, write down what you think your goals are now. And do this exercise. Write this down. Get a piece of paper, get a pen, open up your notes app on your little iPhone, and write down every single thing you believe your goals to be. Now, I want you to really, really, really think and really ponder and decipher why you believe that is your goal. You know what I mean? Why is getting to 100,000 followers on this list of your goals? Why is that? Is that for being able to promote your brand? Is that for being able to monetize better? Is that for being known and respected for a level of clout? Whatever that reason is, there's no wrong answer. This is just an exercise to discover yourself and discover who you are, what your goals are. And if from this exercise you realize, oh, if I'm being honest with myself, that's one of my goals, because I want the respect and the clout and the people to look at me that sort of way. Now you understand, oh, there's a behavioral pattern behind this. There's something behind this. It's not just like, this is what I want. Because again, back to my original point, once you get to 100,000, you're not going to be fulfilled. That's a number. That's literally a numeric value. Like that doesn't mean anything. Your next goal is just going to be 125. Your goal after that's going to be 150. Your goal after that's going to be 200. And then you're going to be like, oh my gosh, everyone around me has 1 million followers and I have 500,000. I'm literally a failure. And where are you? Like, you're 5x'd your original goal, but where are you emotionally? Where is your soul? Where do you feel? Do you feel accomplished? No. So this is an exercise. Write down your goals and really try to like put a little sprinkle of self-awareness there and analyze and be self-analytical of why that is your goal, and try to think about the drive behind that goal. Okay, I've already discussed why this is so important, but please, 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 please take the time to do this, because guess what? If you're watching this and you're this far in, you want to be successful, and success takes a lot of work. There's no shortcuts to it. And what's the point of putting in all that work, putting in all that energy, putting in all that blood, sweat, and tears if at the end of the day you're back at square one? Step 2, reverse engineering. Now that you know why you do what you do and the behavioral patterns behind it, and I know this sounds crazy. This is be like, wait, what the heck? Understand, everything's going to change, everything's going to evolve. There are going to be many pivots along the way, but that's 100% okay. That's just what life is. The point is you started and you started to realize and you started to think and you started to analyze what your goals and what your level of success is. Because again, at the end of the day, it's been proven by many, many studies that the peak of happiness is at an $85,000 to $100,000 range salary. If your definition of success is happiness, right, which has its up and downs, but we don't need to go into that. But if that's your definition of success, is having $5 million per year, should that really be part of your goals that you put down on your goal list? You know what I mean? The point of this exercise is to be able to figure out what you need to reverse engineer to move on to the second step. Because at the end of the day, and it's been proven by many studies that your peak happiness level in this country, USA, is at 85 to 100K per year. What's the point of reaching that $5 million a year goal that you may have written down if your goal is to be happy and happiness is your goal? And that's what your levels, that's what your success is, right? If that $5 million should just be scratched off immediately if happiness is your goal. So it's very important for you to do what it takes to discover yourself and to create the discipline to constantly check yourself and realize what you want, because at the end of the day, you're going to actually be achieving something that fulfills you rather than just going after numeric value that will never do that. So reverse engineering, step 2. If your goal, for example, is to live a sustainable life to where like, hey, maybe I don't need the excess of riches. Maybe I don't need everything out there, but I do want to be financially literate. I want to be financially independent. I want finances to not ever be a problem for me, for my partner, for my family. That's amazing. That very well could be your perfect example of success. Now, how do you go about making that a reality? More foundation work and more discipline via reverse engineering. So, for example, what I want you to do is to literally do the research. Take out that notes app, take out that pen and paper, and write down every single thing. All right, how do I begin to reverse engineer? Take out that pen and paper, take out that notes app right now. And I want you to really do this. Either right now, pause the video and do this, or right when you're done watching this. What I want you to do is now write every single thing that you think you want out of life. Similar to what we did with step 1. The purpose of step 1 was to be able to discover what your drive was behind everything for you to refine those goals. But now step 2 is again writing those goals of what you want. Like, hey, I just want to be financially independent. I want my partner to not ever have to worry about money. I want my family to not ever worry about money. Maybe I don't need $100 million. Maybe I don't need to go for $10 million. But that's the baseline of what I do want. And I want to be able to have time to pursue hobbies and passions or whatever. Whatever that goal is, write it down. So literally, write this down right now. Picture this. Visualize the house you see yourself living in. Visualize the type of neighborhood you see yourself living in. Visualize your partner, whether you have one now or not. Visualize your family. How many kids do you want? Okay? Visualize the education for your kids, how they're going to go. Are you going to go the public school route? Or are you going to go, like, literally reverse engineer? Visualize every single thing you want in your ideal life. Now, after you've wrote down every single one of it, after you've literally visualized and saw it and be like, yep, this is how I see it, this is how I want it, it's time for research. Put a dollar amount next to it. That house you visualized, figure out what neighborhoods that house belongs in, what zip codes that house belongs in, what that house goes for. It might not be a $5 million house like we all like to think it is. It might be a $500,000 house, right? Put a price tag and that number next to it. The number of kids. How many kids do you want? Google the average amount it costs to raise a kid in this country, and then think, oh, do I want them to have above average opportunities? Do I want them to have above average nutrition? Do I want them to have above average scholastic and athletic endeavors? Then you're going to have to add money to that, right? Now, Google and just do research on your hobbies and your passions. Like, if you had an abundance of time, what do you see yourself pursuing, and what the monetization and the monetary assets you need to be able to do those things. Really, really, really do the homework. Pinpoint as much things you want out of your life, because you're literally achieving success by doing this. How? It's no longer a fictitious, oh yeah, I just want to be really freaking loaded, have a nice ass house, have a hot ass partner, have some dope kids, like whatever that success is, like that's all imaginative. But if you did yourself the homework and research and discipline of literally visualizing and putting every single one down, it starts to become a reality. Now, put in a price tag for every single element. Put in a price tag for everything you put in this sheet. Keep in mind, as you grow, as you evolve, things will change. Things will pivot. That's 100% okay, because this is for your baseline of reaching your success. Now, for example, if on your piece of paper you figured out your entire lifestyle, your entire this will make me the most fulfilled, this will make me the most proud of myself, this is not me doing anything out of some sort of artificial drive that's never going to fulfill me, this is not my attachment to numeric values, but this is what I believe will make me successful. And let's say that number is $1 million per year, right? Now you have a very tangible number. I need $5 million in order to reach, that's the money side of things. There's a lot more behind success, character development, mindset, all that. But on a money side, the number happens to be $5 million. I'm going to give myself 5 years. Break it down, reverse engineer. $5 million, 5 years. $1 million per year for 5 years, which is roughly 83 grand per month, right? So now wow, for the finances of what I believe to be 100% successful for me in my life, I literally have it spilt out right here, $83,000 per month. Now you have something real. This is no longer fake. You've taken the time, you've put in the work, you put in the discipline to actually discover what you want and what your success is. And now you are at a very exciting point where you actually have the dollar amount attached to that lifestyle in which you can now go after. And this is so helpful, because you might be like, Daryl, okay, my number is $5 million, right? But how do I go about making 83 grand a month? Like that doesn't help. Yes, it does help, because now you know exactly where you should be looking, what you should be striving to do, and what dimension you should be operating out of. If your number is $83,000 per month and you're giving yourself even 5 years to build up to that number, you're going to stick to the realms where that is possible. If your number is $2,000 per month, if your number is $5,000 per month, you're going to stick to the realms where that's possible. Oh, I could literally just save up $500 to $1,000, go to a coding boot camp, and within 6 months be making $75,000 to $80,000 a year average. Within a year, be making $100,000 to $115,000 a year average. Go do it. If it fits your lifestyle, fits your mold of what makes you happy, it fits your mold of what your success is, and your number for the number attached, the numeric value attached to what your success is with money is just a few $1,000s per month, $4,000 per month. Don't waste any mental bandwidth and energy dreaming about making millions per month, millions per year, because you're not going to find success at the end of the day, and you're probably going to stay stagnant more often than not just because nothing is concrete and there's no plan. But if you did all that and the number is 5,000 per month, now stick to the reality in which you can make that happen. Go join a boot camp, go code, and and then work for a company that does that. Now, if your number is $83,000 per month, chances are you're probably going to have to be an entrepreneur in order to reach that income. Obviously, not always, but chances are. Now, how do you go and create that income? We live in the most abundant times. Guys, and this is something I really, really want to clarify. Money is absolutely everywhere. Money is absolutely fake and imaginary, but that's something we'll get into in a future podcast that we could talk about for 3 hours. But just know that money is absolutely everywhere. And if you don't think that's true, you're just not in the right dimension, in the right vibration, doing the right things. If that number is 83 grand per month, you are living in the most abundant times of opportunity. You're living, presumably in the United States, in the time of the most freedom and privilege to be able to go out and go make that happen. Get a course. Go and find a mentor, do the work, figure out what mentor you like, learn from him, get the course, and it might be drop shipping because, hey, drop shipping on average, maybe you can make 20 grand per month starting off, but there's always room to scale. You could always scale that number. You could start with a drop shipping course, and you could start by buying items off of Amazon, Alibaba, and drop shipping them. You could make a few grand per month, and then you could scale your business. You could scale your inventory. You could scale your fulfillment. You could scale, actually do everything in-house, own your fulfillment centers. Like, no matter what you choose to do, there's rooms for pivots and scaling in order to scale to the income you desire, as long as you choose the invocation, you choose the job type that allows for that ballpark money to become a reality. And I hope that makes sense, okay? Okay, now that I've discovered what my success is, or what I believe my success is, now that I've discovered and did the work and realized exactly what I want for my lifestyle. For example, if one of my goals is to be able to have an abundance of time with my family, an abundance of time for myself, abundance of time for my hobbies and passion, I actually do not even want to work, then you could be like, oh my gosh, what are my living requirements? How much do I need to live? What do I need to save up $5 million invested at a very conservative 6% per year return, which allows 300 grand a year annual that you can live below and still be building your wealth and don't have to work at all and have the time to pursue whatever that is. Great, you figured it out. You figured out the numbers. Now, how do we go about and make this a reality? And that's step 3. And this is the concept of universal virtues of success, okay? A universal virtue, in my opinion, is just things that are not debated, things that are not opinions, but just kind of how the universe works. It is what it is scenarios. Now, all of this is very open to discussion because nobody knows how the universe works, right? But this is what I found for myself. And just like this entire podcast, take anything I say with a grain of salt because understand I am a flawed idiot of a human. So understand that. But this is what I believe how the universe works and some of the virtue that it aligns on. Consistency. Success is consistency. The only consistency. Success is consistency. And consistency is done by habits. Good habits are a universal virtue in order to reach your level of success. Your habits dictate everything, literally everything. Even if you have a habit of derailing yourself or being self-destructive at negative 1% per day, in 100 days, you're going to be in a completely negative reality versus where you are now. If you build the habits of being better 1%, being more productive 1% per day, in 100 days, you're literally going to live in a completely different reality and dimension than you do now. Consistency is the answer, and that is driven home by habits. Now, how do you go out and create good habits? I'm just going to talk about a few of the universal virtues that I apply to my life for me to achieve my sustainability at what I believe to be success and what I need to be successful by my own definitions. The biggest thing I had to learn was energy input and energy output. Everything in this world is energy. That's the only thing that we truly have. And if you're finding yourself just a little too depressed or don't have the ability to be able to help somebody, or don't have the ability to text back a friend, or don't have the ability to be able to go and do the extracurriculars outside of work, besides like just Netflix and being in an entertainment cycle, work, sex, entertainment, repeat. If you find yourself without the energy to move on from that cycle, then you have to do the very, very important action and self-discipline of figuring out where your energy is going. Now, you could put a chart to this too. Sure, I personally don't do this. I use like a form of meditation for this, but you could chart this out and literally realize everything is energy. Where is your mental bandwidth being chipped out to? You only have 100% mental bandwidth, right? On a percentile basis, you have 100. How much of that percentile basis is being chipped away every single day on social media? How much of that percentile is being chipped away from thoughts and thought patterns that don't actually serve you, or don't serve your higher self, or don't serve your success, or don't even serve your immediate responses of how you feel about yourself? How many of that goes to friends that do not serve you in a mutual way, in a mutual relationships? And this might be very controversial, but for me to find my success, I had to cut out every single one of my friends, every single one of them. I'm not saying you have to do that, but you do have to look into your circle, look into your life, and realize, why are you in this cycle you are in now, and how could you squeeze more energy for yourself by eliminating energy output somewhere else? And that is, in my opinion, a universal virtue. Mutual relationships. If I were still right now as a CEO of a fintech company living in the reality of the old friend group that I used to have, where the DEA would get sent to my house out of their actions, where my exotic cars would get vandalized, where my house would get burglarized, where like just so much drama every single week, people going to jail. I have enough to do in my life, or I can't live in a reality where I could receive a phone call and I have to go drop everything to go bail someone out of jail. I just simply can't. And you might think that that's selfish. You might think, oh my gosh, I can't leave my friends. Like, I've been with them forever. That's very selfish. I need to help. You are not entitled to help anyone until you help yourself. Think of this like an airplane, right? Think of this like major turbulence on an airplane. You need to put that oxygen mask on yourself before you could put on others. And if you are somebody who finds fulfillment from serving others, kind of like I did originally with feeding the homeless people, and that's what I fulfilled, I literally had to cut that habit. As hard as that was, I had to get to a point where I didn't have time to feed homeless people anymore, simply because now I'm doing things on the macro, and everything I do and all my companies and everything I'm part of is to serve the macro. And in order to do that, I had to cut out the energy, even though it was a good thing, which is serving the micro, in order to have the energy to fill myself. You are the most important responsibility, yourself. And that's going to sound like a complete no-brainer to half the people watching this. And that's going to come with so much contest from the other half of people watching this. Loyalty is not a real principle. I don't even believe in loyalty. And now, obviously, in a relationship, there's like a form of loyalty where it's like, hey, we've been through things together, we've been through hard things, so there's a certain amount of give you could do if the other partner is screwing up. Like, I'm not saying like be heartless, but what I'm saying is Do not feel obligated to no longer serve yourself and your greater goods and your goals because of this fictitious loyalty system to friends you've had your entire life since you were 3. If you still have the friends that you had that you grew up with, that might be absolutely fantastic and amazing if their goals and their vision and everything they do aligns with your goal and your vision and your level of success and what you want to choose. But if they don't, there has to be the time where you take away some of that energy from that relationship, whether it's a physical side, whether it's like, oh, emotionally they take too much out of me, they're too much draining, and you need to be putting that into yourself, into your own journey to your success. Back to my original thing of me thinking loyalty is a myth. Like, what do I really, really mean by that? There's not a single person in my life now that I don't fully trust 100% and fully would do anything for, like literally anything for. But that is very, very, very much dependent on who they are, why they do the things they do, and if they were to, for example, leave and just be someone completely else tomorrow and be very self-destructive and do things that no longer serve themselves and now derail me from being able to achieve my level of success, I unfortunately am going to have to cut them off. That's just a virtue. That's just what it is. Everything is energy. And if they're draining too much and they're creating negative realities for me, I'm going to have to cut that off. Again, to bring back loyalty, maybe if they've been with me and like help me and I help them a lot, then there's again more give and more leeway until I cut them off. But if that's never fixed, eventually cutting off is the solution. So really, really figure out where your mental bandwidth is going, where your energy is going, and do what it takes in order for you to fill yourself. For me, it was cutting out friends. Okay, after cutting out and deciphering your energy, where that is, how do you build the successful habits, the lines with like universal virtues in order to reach your level of success? And this is all in your foundation work. This entire podcast today is in your foundation work. Habits, good habits. I don't know what habits you need for your level of success, and nobody does. No course you could buy is going to teach you exactly what you need for your level of success. But what I can do is share my pillars to my life and everything I need in order to be sustainable, be productive, and go out and have a successful day every day. I have 4 main pillars. In my pillars, I would say fitness is huge. Intermittent fasting, absolutely huge. Visualization, huge. And breath work / meditation. Those are my 4 pillars. And these pillars are part of my foundation. It's part of my identity, but it's something that I have to work on every single day. Just because it's something I've done every single day for 5 years now doesn't mean that I could ever step away from my foundation, because everything you build, again, is on top of your foundation. Doesn't mean you could get rid of it. So for my foundation, which may not be good for you, but may be beneficial to you, mine, physical fitness. That is so important to me. Personally, I don't have any physical goals. I could really care less how strong I am. I could really care less what I look like. But for me, is all the cognitive benefits I receive from physical fitness. Waking up early every single day, going to the gym, having the mind-body-soul connection of stretching, which is hard to do, man. Stretching sucks. Holding position sucks. Focusing on breathing sucks. Lifting weights designed to be heavy and hard for you to lift sucks. Bench pressing sucks. Hurting your elbows suck. Everything about it sucks. Don't get me wrong. But being able to go out and start your day with something so challenging and so hard literally sets your day off right, because your body naturally rewards yourself with the brain chemicals, with the endorphins, with the cognitive clarity, and the self-love you receive from doing hard things. All of those things might suck, but I do it 7 days a week and start my day off like that 7 days a week, because right off the get-go I'm proving to myself I could do hard things, and guess what? I am immediately rewarded with mental clarity, cognitive benefits, and my self-love and confidence boost for today to carry out for everything else I need to do. Number 2, intermittent fasting. I could do a whole podcast on intermittent fasting and how we started as hunters and gatherers, and how overnutrition is the systemic root of every single chronic disease out there. But I'll just say this. I cannot go to the gym. I could not work out. I could not conduct a meeting. I could not do this podcast to the best of my ability. In fact, I can't even lift a single weight without puking if I have food in me. I've been intermittent fasting for usually 19 hours fasting, and then I give myself a 5-hour eating window for so long now that I feel the most optimized, and I feel the most cognitively clear. I feel the most physically strong for 19 hours a day now. And that's a big chunk of your day. 19 hours of increased performance, and you're also saving so much time and mental bandwidth because you don't have to worry about breakfast, you don't have to worry about cooking, you don't have to worry. There's so much time and energy in all that. There's a very big difference from undernutrition, starving yourself, anorexia, and intermittent fasting. Let me be clear. I eat the exact amount of calories that any normal person would. I don't have any dietary restrictions besides I eat healthy. You know what I mean? Like I don't ever eat junk food. If I eat out, it has to be like healthier foods. But that being said, I eat just as much as everyone, but it's just within that 5-hour time window. So I'm getting all the calories a normal person is, but I'm enjoying the cognitive benefits and the fat burning benefits and the ability to be performing at my peak for 19 hours a day, while I'm still getting all the nutrition that everyone else is getting that I need in just that 5-hour window. Moving on from fitness, moving on from intermittent fasting, a huge pillar to my life is visualization. I literally have to visualize my entire day every single morning. This is, in fact, a form of meditation. If you have severe ADD like I do, it could be very challenging and very almost impossible to get into meditation. And this act of visualization could help leeway your way into that. When you wake up, don't touch your phone immediately. Just give yourself 5 minutes. 5 minutes before you turn over to your left or turn over to your right and grab that phone, just give yourself 5 minutes. What I want you to do is visualize. Visualize your day. Visualize what you have that day. Visualize what you can do to accomplish what you need to accomplish that day. Visualize what you can do to excel in what you need to do today. Literally just map out your entire day and see yourself doing the things you're doing. And there's been many studies showing that athletes who see themselves in their mind lifting the weights, see themselves bench pressing, deadlifting the weights, they get an increase in weights that they could actually perform and put up simply from that visualization process. But you could take this across all fields. Really think about you going to work. Think about how you could excel at your job. Think about how you could perform better. See yourself following through and doing everything. Visualize. Another pillar for me, meditation and breath work. This is so important for me to be able to set my intentions of the day. And again, back to my original point, everything is energy, and everything in the world is a bandwidth eater. This is the biggest bandwidth eater out there. Get a notification from Twitter, get a notification from Instagram, get a notification from Facebook. I may lie to myself and live in ego that I'm being productive and my project is really going to flourish. But if I'm constantly having my bandwidth chipped 100% by this thing, how much is left for you to actually go and flourish a project? You know what I mean? So for me, it takes breath work to be able to set a literal barrier around me to be able to have all of my energy and not other forces take it off from me. This might sound very foreign to you. On the opposite, this might sound very elementary to you. It is what it is, and this is just what I do for myself. Again, I'm an idiot. So what I do for myself, because it's so hard for me to get into meditation, is I started with a concept and practice called box breathing. Now, there's many breathing exercises that are so beneficial, and the breath is the foundation of life. And you know how much I love foundation. You could go Wim Hof, but today I'm going to focus on box breathing. You're going to do a 4-second inhale through the nose, 4-second hold, 4-second exhale, 4-second hold, 4-second inhale. All you have to do is do this for 2 minutes. Doing this twice for 2 minutes a day has completely transformed my life. And I do this with intentions. I box breathe with the intention that, hey, I am literally setting my energy inside me to come outside of me, to kind of be a force field and absorb all the BS throughout the day. Absorb this person's negative projections. Absorb this person's thought patterns and negativity. Absorb this person's whatever. Like whatever you can to set the most mental bandwidth to yourself. My intention is, hey, while I box breathe, I am setting an aura, a protective energy force field around me to make sure at the end of the day, I could be productive and other people's actions and other people's emotional responses aren't going to attack into my self-love, aren't going to attack into my self-worth, and aren't going to attack into how I perceive myself. Because that's so important. Those are my pillars, which I believe to be universal virtues. They may truly help you. They have completely transformed my life. It is something I have to work on every single day. Fitness, box breathing, visualization, meditation, intermittent fasting. I literally have to do that every day. And guess what? It's all done. The fitness is the biggest chunk of it. It's usually like 60 to 90 minutes. Besides that, everything is done in real time. Literally real time. Besides the fitness aspect, everything else is just 4 minutes. And that's not much of your day in order for you to be on the right trajectory to be 1% better every single day. Because again, if you're just 1% more productive, 1% better, 1% evolved every single day, in 100 days, you're going to live in a 100% different reality than where you are now. My name is Daryl Kemsley. Thank you so much for listening to me ramble. This is my podcast on how to define your success, how to find your success, how to reverse engineer and figure out exactly what you want out of your life, and how to build the sustainable habits in order for you to go out and build the consistency in order to reach your level of success. Thank you so much for tuning in.